Welcome back to America Decides. A quick check of your calendar will tell you the following. The presidential election is 1 year and roughly 1 week away. That means for candidates, strategists, pollsters, people who raise money, things are starting to get very real. Earlier today, I spoke with Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, who is the chairman of the Senate Democratic Campaign Committee, about what this 2024 landscape will look like and the main issues most likely to drive voters. Let's take a listen. So next Tuesday, what state are you going to look at most closely to give you an idea of the terrain you're going to be fighting in 2024?
Well, everybody looks at Virginia. We'll look at certainly Virginia, but we'll look at races around the country. But also understand that we're still a year out.
Right.
A lot can happen in a year, and you should.
But you're going to learn a lot about Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia next week, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll be looking at all those races, and we've got an initiative on the ballot in Ohio, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. Although we had a glimpse of that earlier in the year when it was put on the ballot. So we know the issue of abortion, for example, continues to be a very strong issue, a powerful issue to motivate particularly voters who believe that women have a fundamental right to reproductive freedom. It's going to be on the ballot again next year. We'll see what happens this year, but I suspect it'll continue to be strong, and I would also expect that to happen next year as well.
Of states where Democrats are seeking re-election, specifically Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Nevada, and then an open seat in Arizona. Of those states that I just mentioned, where do you think abortion plays the strongest?
We find abortion plays well in all states, just like we did in the last cycle. It was very strong. It brought out voters who traditionally may not vote on a regular basis and motivate folks. Probably the main motivating group last cycle were young voters. You know, in Michigan, for example, in my home state, we had a ballot initiative, Prop 3, that enshrined abortion rights in the state constitution. Huge turnout with young voters. In fact, we had the highest turnout of 18 to 29-year-old voters anywhere in the country. And those were folks you don't normally expect to see with those numbers in a midterm. And that's a very important demographic for both our Senate races as well as the presidential race.
Writ large is next year. They say economy, you say abortion?
We'll say economy as well, and we've got a great story to talk about as to what's happening. You know, in the last cycle, in our historic victory, we talked about abortion a lot, but it's important to remember that of the prime Senate candidates that we were working with, 70% of their message was the economy. So it continues to be a prime message for us. But clearly abortion is part of that message to drive out voters, as well as other issues. Climate change is another great issue to bring out younger voters, and those are voters who we are going to be working very hard to make sure they show up on Election Day.
And the future of the democracy of our country.
And that is, the democracy of our country clearly is on the ballot and will continue. We now have a new Speaker of the House, a Republican who was one of the prime architects of the big lie and tried to overturn the election. That's, I think, a very...
Does Mike Johnson play in Senate races next year?
I think it's going to be up to the individual candidates as to how they're talking to folks in their individual states.
What do you suspect?
But I suspect it'll definitely be a topic. If you have a Speaker of the House who is willing and shown a willingness to overturn a legitimate election, that's a real concern.
Did that 3 weeks of chaos created by Republicans nationalize that question of who the Speaker is and make it relevant in Senate races in ways it simply wouldn't have been in any other cycle?
Well, I think it showed that Republicans have a hard time governing. And what people want in this country are people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and govern, make hard decisions, but understand we face big challenges as a country, both domestically, internationally, and you want to send people to Washington who are serious and want to govern. And clearly the Republicans didn't demonstrate that these last few weeks.
After Joe Manchin, who's your most vulnerable Democrat seeking re-election?
Well, the kind of the other two states that we know are going to be very challenging are Montana and Ohio. You know, those states are ones in which normally the Democratic presidential candidate doesn't do well. But those are also states where we have two incredibly strong incumbents. John Tester in Montana has a track record of always outperforming the underlying Democratic performance in the state of Montana because he's authentic and understands the issues and the concerns of people in Montana. Sherrod Brown has that same kind of authenticity that has allowed him to consistently do better than whatever the Democratic baseline is. And the reason for that is they understand their states. They're true person from Montana or Ohio. And we also believe that a dynamic will be in play, like we saw in the last cycle, is that there's a big contrast between the candidates, between the Democratic candidate and the Republican candidate.
And potentially nasty primaries.
There'll be nasty primaries.
Certainly in Ohio.
Certainly for sure we know in Ohio. That
might be in Montana, you don't know.
We don't know in Montana. We believe that that probably be the case. But certainly in Ohio, we do know that that's the case. And usually what happens in nasty primaries, at least what we saw before in these nasty Republican primaries, often the most extreme candidate is the one that survives that primary. And the contrast between, in the case of these two states, incumbents that have proven that they fight for their state and deliver for their state versus a candidate who's going to be flawed in many respects will mean that we'll be victorious in the end.
And does the dynamic of a presidential make this more advantageous on the ground from your perspective than what you were dealing with in the midterm?
It does. Turnout changes. So turnout traditionally drops dramatically in a midterm. So in a presidential year, you have more turnout. But you still can't take it for granted. I mean, the one thing that we did at the DS last cycle is that we invested more in the ground campaign than we did in any other, than we did in TV and other kinds of media. It was the first time in history that we did that. It was something that I and my team and all of us thought was incredibly important in very close races. That extra margin of people you get out makes a difference. And you got to believe the same thing happens in the presidential. You're dealing with a higher bar because you've got more people coming out. But it's those marginal voters who may not show up that will make a difference.
West Virginia is a lost cause, isn't it?
Well, if Joe Manchin runs, he will win. But Joe Manchin, I hope he wins or runs. I'm encouraging him every opportunity I get when I see him. That I would certainly hope.
What's he told you?
He's waiting on his decision. He tells me the same thing he's been telling everybody else. It'll be at the end of this year, or early next year, which we're now getting towards the end of the year. So hopefully we'll know that decision soon.
I think I heard you say if he runs, he wins.
Yes.
You're sure about that?
Yeah. No, Joe has a track record of doing that. There's a primary in West Virginia as well. And as we are learning more about the candidates, particularly the one who's leading now, there's a lot of baggage. There are a lot of things that folks in West Virginia are not going to be happy about.
To clarify, if he runs as a Democrat, he wins. Or if he runs as an independent, he wins.
Joe Manchin will win if he
Either
runs.
way.
Yeah. We're hoping he runs as a Democrat. That's what I'm whispering into his ear every day I see him.
Senator Peters, great to see you. Thanks so much.